people, last week we said he went to visit, but he stayed what? He stayed too long. He went to visit, he stayed too long. Well, when he stayed too long, Jason, he ended up arguing and defending the Hebrew against the Egyptian. He killed the Egyptian. The very next day, he goes back. He sees a Hebrew and a Hebrew arguing. And then he's about to speak. And over there in Acts chapter 7, Stephen says it differently. He said the Hebrew person pushed him. So the Hebrew individual pushed him back. And then he began to say, are you going to kill me like you killed the Egyptian the other day? So now he knows that the story is out, because when Moses killed the Egyptian, he looked left, he looked right, he looked up, he looked down, he looked all around, and it appeared no one was watching, appeared no one was looking. So he dug the ditch, he hid the body, and he covered the body up. Before I go too far, I want you to understand, if you and I, if we're in the spirit of hiding, we can't receive the breakthrough of God. If we're still in the spirit of hiding so many things in our lives, we can't experience the breakthrough of God. Some weeks ago, I talked about the Johari window. The Johari window has 4 panes. It has the open pane, it has the secret pane, it has the blind pane, and it has the potential pane. So there's a window, 1 window, 4 panes. The open pane are those things that I know about myself and those things that other people know about me. So everyone knows that I pastor City of Faith Church. I'm aware of it. You're aware of it. Everyone knows right now I have on a suit. You're aware of that. I'm aware of that. So we both are aware of some things. That's the open pane. Then you have that which we call the blind pane. And those are things I can't see about myself. You know, when people say, Pastor, fix your collar in the back. And I said, oh, I didn't know my collar was messed up. So you have the secret pane. Now, the secret pane is the one I want to talk about. When you do this Johari window, when the secret pane is larger than the other panes, you're on a pathway of destruction. When the secret pane becomes smaller, you're on the pathway for success. The secret pane are those things you know about yourself and you don't want anybody else to know. It's those things that you know about yourself, you know about your family, you know about your relationship, and you don't want anybody else to know. And so when that pain becomes larger and larger and larger and larger, we find ourselves hiding. Over there, when Adam and Eve committed sin in the first book of the Bible, we find the first thing they did was hid themselves. God was looking for them, they were hiding. And then they made some leaves for themselves so they could hide their nakedness. So we see that double spirit of hiding. And we see Moses in the spirit of hiding, which conveys he doesn't have the spirit of humility. And to receive the breakthrough blessing of God, you and I will need a humble state. You and I will need a spirit of humility in our lives. So the first thing we see, when he is driven in this wilderness, all by himself, nobody's with him. He's in a spirit of isolation. There's no friends there. There's nobody to love him. Now remember, this is a highly educated man. Remember, this is a very wealthy man. He's in Pharaoh's house. This is a very influential man. This is an individual that is powerful with words. This is an individual that had relationships in Egypt. This is an individual that developed a level of understanding that this was the assignment and these were the people that God had for him. And now he has to go to the Midianites. So you're talking about a broken heart. You're talking about someone who's living the reality of consequences. I want you to know life is a matter of consequences. And consequences are a matter of the choices we make. Before I go too far, I want to share with you that I certainly believe America has positioned itself for some serious consequences based on what has happened this week. I want you to be aware of that there are consequences. God allows us to make choices, but there are consequences for the choices. And sometimes I won't always give my biblical opinion on certain things, but I want you to understand something. If you get mad, you get mad. But I want you to understand something, that what the Supreme Court ruled, it may be constitutional in their eyes, but it's unbiblical. It may be constitutional in their eyes, but it doesn't support the teachings of the Word of God. Now, if you want to have a civil contract, do whatever you need to do. If you want to give somebody all of your belongings and all of your possessions, do whatever it is you want to do. A contract is a contract. And if it's your possessions, you can give it to whoever you want to give it to. If it's your body, you can do whatever you want to with it because it's yours. But when we start as a nation, because there's a consequence. When we start as a nation, first time it's ever happened. And when you look at modern society, find me another place around the world that is as modern and as forward-thinking as the United States of America, who legalizes same-sex marriage. It's wrong. It's unbiblical. Now, there are some say, well, no, I think people have a right to do this and a right to do that. Let me explain something to you. Moses killed a man. God didn't stop Moses from killing him. Moses killed a man. And when Moses killed a man, God did not stop the consequences from that choice from coming either. So I want you to understand that as the people of God, there are two things we're to submit to. I want you to hear me good. Hear me good. The first thing we're to submit to is God's law. The second thing we're to submit to is man's law. You got that part? What do you do when man's law conflict with God's law? Who do you submit to? You gotta submit to God's law. When you look at man's law, man in one season of time will say alcohol is wrong. Few decades later, alcohol is right. Now what's wrong can't be right, and what's right can't be wrong. That's the law of contradiction. Society will say this group of individuals are to be in bondage to this group of individuals. And then years later, society will say this group of people should not be in bondage to this group of people. And so we find contradiction again. I want you at this season in your life, because there's consequences to the choices we make. I want you at this season in your life to make a choice, to have an opinion on what God has to say on the matters. Powerful thing, because there's going to be a consequence in your personal life.